There's a heavy silence in Flint, a silence thick with things unsaid and promises unkept. It hangs in the air, settling over empty streets and quiet homes, a reminder of wounds that never fully healed. Boarded-up houses stare out at a world that moved on, their windows like hollow eyes, watching time pass by. Yet, some homes stand defiant, flags waving in the breeze, a quiet declaration that hope still lives here, even when it's hard to find. But the same question lingers behind every door. Can we trust the water? Can we trust anyone? The uncertainty seeps into daily life, coloring every decision. It's been over a decade since the world first heard about Flint's water, since headlines screamed and protests filled the streets. The cameras are gone, the outrage faded, and the world's attention has drifted elsewhere. But here, the story isn't over. For Flint, the crisis lingers, woven into the fabric of everyday life. You see it in the bottled water stacked in kitchens, a daily reminder that trust is not easily restored. You see it in the hesitation before a child drinks from a fountain, a pause that speaks volumes about fear and caution. For Flint, the crisis became daily life, a constant hum of anxiety and doubt, shaping routines and relationships. We're here to see what happens after the world stops watching, to witness the quiet resilience that persists. How does a city rebuild trust when it's been poisoned by those meant to protect it? How do you move forward when the past still echoes in every drop? The answers aren't in reports, they're in everyday moments. Coffee brewed with bottled water, a mother's tired eyes, a child's cautious smile. This isn't just about contaminated pipes or political failure, it's about broken trust and the long road to healing. It's about resilience, a community knocked down, told to get up, and still standing, refusing to be defined by tragedy alone. People here rely on each other, building their own networks of care, sharing resources and hope. When the systems fail, you're left with each other. In Flint, neighbors become family, and support is a lifeline. In Flint, that's made all the difference. Community is the foundation that keeps hope alive. The story is still being written every single day, in every act of kindness, every shared burden, and every small victory. Flint was once the heart of the American dream, a city built by General Motors, humming with industry and hope. The city's streets bustled with workers, and families thrived on the promise of steady jobs and a bright future. Generations grew up believing that hard work in Flint's factories could build a better life. But as factories closed and jobs vanished, the city's identity and economy crumbled. Neighborhoods emptied, small businesses shuttered, and the sense of community began to fade. Flint, once a symbol of prosperity, became a portrait of loss and uncertainty. Desperation led to a fateful decision. In 2014, Flint switched its water source to the Flint River to save money. City leaders hoped this move would ease financial strain, but it would come at a devastating cost. The untreated, corrosive water ate away at aging lead pipes, poisoning the water in homes and schools. What was meant to be a temporary fix quickly spiraled into a public health nightmare. Residents complained, brown water, foul smells, sickness. Their cries were ignored. Families worried for their children, but officials dismissed their fears, insisting everything was fine. Officials insisted the water was safe. They lied. The truth was hidden behind reassurances and press conferences. It took independent scientists and relentless citizens to expose the truth. Flint's water was poisoned, and children had elevated lead levels. Parents demanded answers, and activists refused to be silenced. The crisis became a national scandal, but the damage was done. Trust was shattered, and the world watched as Flint's suffering was laid bare. The poison had already flowed through the taps and into the people of Flint. The effects would linger for years, impacting health, futures, and hope. The city's decline set the stage for disaster, but it was neglect and denial that made it a tragedy. Flint's pain was not just from lost jobs, but from broken promises and failed leadership. Flint's story is a warning of what happens when a city is left behind, a reminder that every community deserves to be heard, protected, and never forgotten. Driving through Flint, you see abandoned houses, remnants of lost prosperity, but turn a corner and you find community gardens, murals, and bustling diners. Life goes on, because it has to. At a weekend farmer's market, families browse, kids laugh, But water fountains are replaced by bottled water coolers, a quiet reminder of the past. These pockets of life are no accident. They're built by people who refuse to let Flint be defined by tragedy. Church groups, non-profits, neighbors. Each act of care is a form of resistance. Flint is more than its worst headlines. It's a living, breathing community, fighting for a better future. The city's spirit is stubborn and unyielding. Even in moments of joy, the scars remain. But so does hope. Flint's story is one of survival, every single day. Maria, a grandmother and retired teacher, remembers the day the water changed. Brown, foul, and suddenly unsafe. She still recalls the metallic smell that filled her kitchen, the way her coffee tasted off, and the unease that crept into her daily routine. She remembers the rashes that appeared on her grandchildren's arms, the constant fear that never left their home, and the pain of being ignored by those in power. The sense of betrayal was overwhelming. "We were shouting for help and no one listened," she says, her voice trembling. "How do you trust again when your pleas fall on deaf ears?" Jamal, who was just a teenager during the crisis, now dedicates his time to working at a local community center, helping others heal. His younger sister struggles with learning difficulties, likely a result of lead exposure from the water. The impact lingers in their daily lives, shaping their futures. "We just lived here. We drank the water we were told was safe," Jamal recalls. "We trusted what we were told, and now we live with the consequences." Jamal channels his anger into action, organizing youth programs, distributing clean water, and making sure no one feels alone in this fight. "We can't wait for someone to save us. We have to save ourselves," he tells the group, inspiring others to join the cause. Across Flint, you hear the same resolve. This crisis has forged a generation of fighters united by hardship and hope. People learned the power of their own voices, discovering that change begins when communities come together and demand justice. They look out for each other, sharing resources, offering support, and refusing to give up on their home or their neighbors. The trauma is real, but so is the determination. Flint's advocates are relentless, standing up for their rights and for each other. Their fight is for justice, for healing, and for the future of every child and family in Flint. They are the heartbeat of the city, carrying Flint's story forward with courage and hope. The pipes have been replaced, the water declared safe, but the scars run deeper than copper or lead. Many residents still use bottled water, unable to trust what comes from the tap. "Every time I turn on the tap, I remember the brown water, the smell, my son being sick," a young mother tells us. The psychological toll is lasting. Lead poisoning's effects on children are still emerging. Developmental delays, learning disabilities, behavioral problems. Schools and social workers struggle to meet the needs of a generation exposed to a neurotoxin. The true cost is still being counted, one child at a time. Some officials face charges, but for many, justice feels incomplete. The system that allowed this disaster hasn't truly changed. Lack of accountability eats away at the community's ability to heal. The wound remains open. Flint's recovery is about more than pipes. It's about trust, justice, and the long road to healing. The scars, both seen and unseen, are Flint's legacy. Recovery in Flint is slow, uneven, and hard-won. At a nutrition center, families learn to cook with foods that help counter lead's effects, a small but vital step. Downtown, new businesses and renovated buildings signal hope, but the progress is fragile and uneven. Just minutes from downtown, neighborhoods still struggle with poverty and blight. The challenge making sure recovery reaches everyone, not just a lucky few. Grassroots organizations, born from crisis, lead the way, monitoring water, connecting people to resources, holding leaders accountable. They are Flint's conscience and its engine of recovery. The slow mend is happening from the inside out. The people of Flint are rebuilding their city, one act of care at a time. They know they can't rely on outsiders. Community power is their greatest asset. The work is far from over, but the will to heal is stronger than ever. Flint isn't an isolated case. It's a symptom of a larger problem. Across America, there are other Flint's communities with aging infrastructure, environmental hazards, and government neglect. Jackson, Mississippi, Louisiana's Cancer Alley, indigenous communities with decades-long boil water advisories. These aren't just infrastructure failures, they're human rights issues. the common thread, a disconnect between those in power and those they serve. Budgets balanced on the backs of the poor, decisions made by people who never face the consequences. When a community is seen as disposable, disaster is inevitable. Flint's crisis was a wake-up call, revealing the fragility of public systems and deep inequalities. Clean water can't be taken for granted. Flint's story is a warning. If we let our communities be divided and neglected, the next disaster is only a matter of time. The lesson is clear: no one is immune. We must pay attention before it's too late. The fight for Flint continues, quieter but no less urgent. Parents battle for healthcare and support for children affected by lead. Community leaders work to keep Flint's story alive, fighting for funding and stronger regulations. Their battle is against apathy and political amnesia. They are the guardians of Flint's memory and future. Flint's people are also fighting for their own narrative, not as victims but as survivors. They create their own media, celebrate their own heroes, and tell their own story. The strength here isn't just in protest, but in daily endurance. Every day families face the same challenges, support each other, and hold on to hope. This is the reality for thousands in Flint. Their struggle isn't over. They deserve our attention, our support, and our respect. The unseen fight is for dignity, justice, and a future worth living. What do you do with a story like Flint's? It's easy to look away, but the people here don't have that choice. Their story is about dignity, the right to be seen and heard, and the fight for basic human rights. The problems are big and systemic, but the first step is not to forget. Remembering keeps pressure on those in power and tells Flint they're not alone. Support the organizations and local heroes doing the hard work every day. They are the light that refuses to go out. Empathy is a start, but action creates change. Even small gestures ripple outward. A city is its people, and Flint's people are resilient beyond measure. They've endured betrayal, but they're not broken. They fight for their children, neighbors, and home. Their spirit endures. They deserve our solidarity. Flint's story is a reminder that we're all connected. Even a little light can make a difference in the darkest places.